Hey guys, I got some tips for you to help you do a little bit better on cross-examination. Tips for both lawyers and for witnesses. Alright, so starting with lawyers. First of all, guys, during cross-examination, make sure your questions are clear. If the question is too complicated, if you're stumbling around in the question, the witness can very easily be like, I don't get what you're saying. Can you repeat? Can you rephrase? And they can really chew up your time or give entirely different answers than what you're expecting. On cross, one of the most important things is to control your witness. You need to control your witness. There are a lot of ways to do this. You can repeat your question until you get the answer. If you ask a question and they give some particular answer without saying yes or no, you can repeat the question. If the other side objects and says, hey, asked and answered, just be blatant and say, hey, the question was never answered. You can sum up. So your answer was yes, and then that holds them to an answer. You can interrupt them. If they're going on and on and on, you can jump in and say, so that's a yes. Be careful doing this, though, because it can be seen as too aggressive. You can restart and ask the same question again with, I'm sorry, but my question was, did you, and be a little more forceful then in the question. You can even object. Objection, Your Honor. Narrative. Objection, Your Honor. Witness isn't answering the question. Whatever. And the judge will then help you control your witness. Don't try and just use one. For example, don't always interrupt or don't always object. Try and do a bunch of different things. And the objection should probably be one of the last things you do. Alright, so be ready. They may ask you to repeat the question, in which case you just repeat the question. But they might ask you to rephrase. If they ask to rephrase and you add word for word the same question, you might lose some points. So if they say rephrase, change the question a little bit, but make sure it's still the same question. Be ready to remind them. If they forget something that's in their affidavit or forget something, be ready to remind them. In your affidavit, you said, and be ready to impeach them. If they say, oh, no, I never said that. Nuh-uh. Don't be afraid to go to their affidavit and say the whole thing. Please read line 27. So you did actually, and that's how you impeach. We'll be talking about impeachment later in class, so don't worry. Be prepared for objections. Look through your cross, figure out what they might object to. Use your voice. You need to be loud. You need to be clear. You need to be confident. You need to be forceful, but not too aggressive or too forceful. You do need to control the witness, and part of that comes from your voice. If you are being loud and forceful, don't lean in when you're being all loud and forceful. That comes across as way too aggressive. But use your body purposeful. Make your movements purposeful. Never want to see these little hand gestures or these random stuff. Every movement should be purposeful. If you point to somebody, make it clear who you're pointing to. Make it a big gesture. Don't be afraid to walk. Don't be afraid to use your face. Things like that. And listen. Did the witness say what you needed them to say? Don't just move on to the next question so you can be done. Listen to what they're saying. Did they impeach themselves? If they just lied about something, you need to call them out on that. It's a major source of points, and it really helps your side, usually. Did they say something that you can reference during their direct? You should be listening to them while they're doing direct. Oftentimes I see people crossing and asking questions that were already admitted to during direct. And they're laying all this foundation to get this question. There's all this build up. It takes like a minute to get to it. And the witness is like, yeah, I already said that. So make sure If they say something during direct, you can use it, or you can alter your cross accordingly. All right, witnesses. During cross, witnesses, your job is to try and control the lawyer. Their job is to control you. Your job is to control them. Be ready for their topics. You can figure out what they're going to cross you about. What makes you look bad? What makes your side look bad? What things are they going to ask you? You can figure these out. So look them over, figure them out ahead of time. If they give you an exhibit, they say, can you please identify this? Don't look at it and go, oh, that's blah, blah, blah. Take a second, look at it. Eat up a second or two. In real life, you would actually be looking at it. So your character would actually be looking at it. And that's what you need to do. You do always have to answer their question. Yes, no. I mean, they're almost always asking yes, no questions. You need to answer. But there are things you can do if they are controlling you. If they're keeping you to just a yes or a no, and you can't add on to it, yes, but. Well, not really, because if you can't add on, if they're holding you to just yes or no, and they're just dominating you, there are still some things you can do. You can ask them to repeat their question. If you need a chance to think, be like, oh my God, this is going so fast. What do I do? I don't even know what they're saying right now. You can ask them to repeat their question. It gives you a second to think. You can ask them to rephrase their question. If you're not sure what they're asking, ask them to rephrase. You're allowed to do that. If you don't remember something, like in your affidavit, on Tuesday you said you saw a cat. What was the length of the cat's tail? Some random fact. And you don't remember this little itty-bitty useless freaking fact in your affidavit. If you don't remember it, use that. Say, hey, right now I'm not sure. I can't recall at this time. Could you find it in my affidavit and show it to me? Because I'm having a little trouble remembering exactly what I said right now. Use that, I don't remember. You can pause before you answer. Yes or no, you saw my client on the 12th. Well, yeah, I did, yeah. You can pause. Don't just, yes. Can I go now? Put some pauses in there. Use synonyms for yes. Don't just say yes. Yes, I believe so. That's correct. Yeah, even. I mean, you don't want to be too informal, depending on what your character is. If you're an expert witness, saying things like, probably not the best. But you can use synonyms. At least that's something you can do to try and get something in as far as acting. Make sure your movements are purposeful, just like on direct. Use your hands purposefully. If you're mentioning someone in your cross, well, yes, I did see him on the 12th. Use your face. Crinkle up like, I'm not sure what you're asking. Could you rephrase that? Put some facial movements in there. Use your eyes. Use your head nods. Use your body movements if it calls for it. Use your body. For short answers, always just best to usually look at the lawyer. But if your lawyer is letting you just kind of control them and give long answers, make sure you're looking at the judge while you're answering. Get that kind of conversation going with the judge. Because remember, you are in character even during cross. And you are getting graded partially on your acting, your character. Are you that person? Keep in mind, if there's something that character shouldn't know, you can say, I don't know. You can use that. If your character has some eyesight issue, and they hand you some kind of evidence, and they're like, please point to such and such, use that. Be like, eat up some time, put in that little bit of acting. If your character has some hearing problem, If it says in the affidavit, this person's 70 years old and they're deaf in one ear, use that. Don't be obnoxious about it, but use it at least once, maybe twice. Get that acting in there. Still use your inflections, your pauses, your pitches, all that vocal stuff for acting. Just be careful about the stuttering, the stammering, because during cross that can be misinterpreted to mean that you're guilty, you're trying to make things sound better than they're not, that the lawyer just caught you doing something, and so be careful with those. Hope for help from your lawyer. If the other team's lawyer is just tearing you apart and just you're getting into bobblehead mode, yes, 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 yes. Can I go now? Hopefully your lawyer's going to jump up and object. But don't count on it. You need to prepare ahead of time so you know how to defend yourself. You know how to control the lawyer. If you are starting to bobblehead and you're starting to get controlled, don't be like, where's my lawyer? Hey, buddy, you going to object? You going to help me out? You're not allowed to have communication with your lawyer. So hopefully they're paying attention to you, but you can't be like drawing their attention like, hey, I need help, object. No. Impeachment. If they pull out your affidavit and prove that you just said something wrong, it said that you were not in the nightclub on the 12th or whatever. If it's a small thing, say the logical thing. Oh, I forgot, or I didn't remember saying that until now, or whatever. Make it clear to the judge that you were not intentionally lying. If it's a big thing, that's a little different. If they say you said something in your affidavit and you didn't say it, or you don't remember it, make them show it to you. You said blah, 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 didn't you? No, I don't think that's correct. Oh, you said this in your affidavit. I don't remember saying that at all. I don't think that's right. Could you show me in the affidavit where I said that? Now they got to waste a minute pulling out the affidavit, going through the affidavit, finding it, or not finding it if it's not there, and then, I guess it isn't in your affidavit. Move on. Sometimes teams will try and get you to impeach yourself by saying stuff that's not in your affidavit, especially if they get you in that bobblehead mode. Hopefully these tips help you a little bit. If you go on to YouTube, you'll find all sorts of other tips that go more in depth, talk about pitch and inflection, talk about what types of questions and how to phrase the question. This was just some basic acting stuff and some basic information. Hope it helps.